Looks like we are live. What's going on, everybody? I'm going to give a few minutes here for a bunch of people to jump on, and we will then start Talk About It Tuesday. Yeah, turn my phone on silent here as everybody's jumping on, otherwise I'm going to get interrupted or getting a lot of pings going on here. So, again, we'll give it a few minutes and we'll allow people to kind of jump on before I get into any of the details. But after last week, we had really good participation last week. Some really good questions that were not only given ahead of time, but also during the actual feed. So, the whole intention here is that we all learn together. So as new products are introduced, if you have questions or you're thinking about making a purchase, it's a good place to come in and get some real-life question and answer on the balls before you even make your purchase. So again, we'll give it a couple minutes here. Looks like we're up to about 10 people already jumping onto the feed. But again, if you remember, we have some theme days here at Pure Bowling, and this one is going to be Talk About It Tuesday. So the ball we're going to be talking about today is the newest version from DV8, which is the Verge Pearl. Okay, I have a ton of things to talk about with this bowling ball. I actually had a chance to throw this myself quite a few times already, so very, very encouraged by what I'm seeing out of this, and I want to give my insight a little bit as well to some comparisons to other balls, kind of where it fits in my own personal bag, and then of course on Thursday we'll turn around and we'll be able to throw this down the lane, and right now it's looking like we'll probably have 4 people throwing the ball. Again, the constants from last time, you will see myself. I will try to get more than 6 early. And Carrie will be throwing shots. And then we're going to invite Dominic Motilla. We'll give you a little different perspective, a little more spinny of a player. And then we're going to bring a southpaw in and let DJ Zombro Jr. come in as well. So he's going to throw some from the left side, so if you want to see that. So, again, live is up, so let's jump into it. So, again, this is the second installment in the Verge line. If you remember back, the Verge Solid, very popular. It became very much so one of those benchmark bowling balls that were in your bag. Control, but really saw the body of the lane really well. When you look at the numbers, they do both obviously share the same core, which was a new core at the time, which came out, which was the Threshold. The Threshold numbers 2476.049. Okay, so those of you that are techie and want to kind of know what the numbers are, that's what we're looking at there. The difference between the two, obviously, is we have the solid version, and now this one is wrapped in the Insider Pearl. Okay, so the Insider Pearl, completely different, 500, 1000 Sire, and then it has the Crown compound on it as well. So one of the things that I saw as a distinct difference right off the bat from the Verge Solid to the Verge Pearl for me personally was that when I threw the solid version was very good for me, but it is definitely going to be one of those balls where I'm going to need a little bit of volume on the lane to make it match up with my personal game. What I saw in turn when I got to throw the Pearl version was a completely different ball motion that aesthetically matched up to my eye perfectly. I had a chance to throw this 2 different places. I threw it here at Pure Bowling, and as you know, we have 75-year-old wood here. Ball was super clean, even on the older wood panels. I threw it on a 44-foot pattern here, and the ball was really, really responsive, really good through the pins. If I would have thrown the Verge Solid, which I'll try to get some shots on Thursday and compare the two for you, I had the Verge Pearl probably a good 3.5 feet longer, and probably overall through the pins, probably a good 2 stronger for me once it sees the spot. Now, the one thing that I know I get a lot of questions on, so last week we had done the, if you go back and we did the hammer balls, we had done the hammer spit it out here. Fugitive, okay, the Fugitive, which they had the Pearl version originally, and then they did a Fugitive Solid. If you are a tech guy or gal and you're really looking at numbers, you might say to yourself, okay, well those numbers are really really close to one another. When you were looking at the Fugitive, that was a 2.486 versus 2.476, almost identical. And the line with the Fugitive, slightly higher differential, so 0.52 versus the 0.49s we see in these. So if the reason I bring this up is, too often I think we rely too much on, what do the numbers do, how do they fit in the lines, how do they look for each person. But if I was to look at just the numbers alone, I would think right off the bat that the Fugitive Pearl is going to be, cleaner for me and probably more down lane. And let me tell you, it's just not the case, okay? This Verge Pearl is way cleaner than the Fugitive Pearl for me, and it is a lot more down lane. Why? Why is that? Because there's more to it than just the numbers of the bowling ball, right? The other things that go along with it is your cover stocks, okay? So it's a Pearl and it's a Solid, but the additives that are put in there, that are put into the cover stocks, are going to see traction on the lane differently, okay? So for me, even though the numbers on paper say that, the Verge Pearl may be a little earlier and a little less than a Fugitive Pearl, not the case, okay? Cover stock, huge, huge, huge impact, okay? One of the things, though, when we talk about these that's really encouraging and it's cool when you're trying to get into it is that this ball has the dot technology. I think it's one of the greatest innovations that have come out in our industry in quite some time. If you're not familiar with the dot, obviously the dot technology pretty much allows us, to drill anywhere near the indicator without going into a pin or having to keep it, an inch away on traditional balls, or it would void warranties, okay? The way they pour these is the opposite direction now, so technically if you really want to say a pin, the pin's on the bottom side of the ball, right? But that's not where we drill to, okay? So really cool about dot technology. The other things that these balls have is the Dynamic Core. We spent a lot of time talking about Dynamic Core last week. Dynamic Core, and I will back it up, Dynamic Core seems to have just a different sound when the bowling ball hits the pins, okay? Definitely the difference when we talked about this versus carbon fiber and the things that intertwine in that is we really see energy transfer different on these. Okay, so you pair that together with this brand new cover stock and with that threshold core, you're really getting a bowling ball that really is a staple that's going to stay in my bag. Okay. Just to give an idea, I threw it on Monday night, last night at League. High friction house shot. I'm guessing their house shot there is about 41, 42 feet or so. Just a ton of friction to the right, and this ball had no problem getting through the front part of the lane. And if you want to talk about entry angle and creating some shape down lane, Carrie's over here in the distance, not really talking, but she can attest to it that I stone nined, let's say, more than 3 times. Okay, so... but it was good. I used it all 3 games. I chased it left. The ball never quit. Just very overall very impressed with it. I think it's going to be a staple in anyone's bag. And wrap that in a 2-year warranty on the bowling balls, and it's something that a tournament player or a player that just is looking for something in League to give them a little more down lane shape, look into it. Okay, the Verge Pearl is definitely going to be one that I think will be very user-friendly, very versatile, and it's going to match up to multiple styles, and we'll showcase that on Thursday for you. Right, on Thursday you'll get to see Carrie being the straighter player, DJ from the left-hand side of the lane. Yes, all lefties should just throw it 10-5 because that's how lefties bowl. We're going to let DJ throw it 10-5 and see how he makes out with it. And then Dom... We'll definitely get him in there, and I would say he has more, closer to what we would call kind of a spinny voodoo roll through the front. So his ball doesn't see the front part of the lane, so I really expect to see his dance down lane. So pretty encouraging, but looks like we got a whole bunch of people on the live feed here. So, I talk for a little bit here, but, let's throw out some questions here. What questions may you have specifically to the Verge Pearl, or is there another ball that you want to kind of compare, or maybe something that you're you're trying to replace in your bag that is essentially brings a question to mind. Obviously, you know, moving forward into future weeks here, we have a ton of new bowling balls that were announced in August and already for stuff that's coming out in September. So, you know, let us know what you really want to see. I will tell you that we have everything here, you know, at least from a staff perspective, that we can throw the new balls for you. I was like a kid in a candy store because, you know, I came home the other day and I had some Web Tour hybrids sitting on my porch, and man, did I love that Web Tour. So, you know, that was an encouraging thing to come home to. And Carrie, she's the one that got the first holes in hers, but I'm going to sneak some time in here at some point and make sure that I got some fresh pieces for myself as well. So, again, 13, 14, 15 people still kind of hanging on the feed here. So what do you got? What questions come to mind? Looks like we got, looks like Colby's jumping on from McKendree. Hope you're doing well, kid. We got Bob, who did some bowling last night. That tempo looked pretty good for you last night, brother. A little short in the title match there, but definitely looked good. And I believe you did ball change to a Verge Pearl. I think later you kind of, once he took a step left, he covered up a little bit, balled up. Bob, maybe you can confirm that a little bit, but once he took a step left, had to go with a little higher differential ball, a little more cover to see it down lane. Who else we got in here? Matt Bradley, looks like he joined us. Dan Schreiner, he's a Columbia 300 staffer from down in the Allentown area. Welcome, Dan. Glad to see you on here. Daryl Smith and Debbie Smith. Wonder whose parents those are. Joel Logan jumped on. Joel actually bowled on our pair last night in York, so he can attest to, you know, a little bit of friction there. He absolutely ran them over with a Brunswick Black Phantom, and it looked phenomenal. You can ask Joel. He had at least 3 arrows last night. He bowled me one-on-one, so he can attest to that. But who else we jumped on here? Brian Cooper from Logo Infusion looks like he jumped on. Chris Wilson. I know Chris was in and popped by the center today. He was going to go do a little practicing at, I believe he was going to head over to Leisure Lanes and get prepared, because I know around here, our traveling leagues are starting up in Lancaster County tomorrow. So there should be a return to bowling in that aspect. Let me scroll down here, see what else we got. Looks like CJ's on, John Carroll. You guys still out there? Looks like a couple questions are getting ready to pop in here. Gary, you said you had one as well?
I asked a question.
You did? It didn't come through my feed yet, so hoping my feed isn't locked up here. The signal isn't the greatest down here in the center at times, so it kind of lags a little bit. Looks like Darren Zombro the third hopped on. I think I know he's eagerly looking forward to the new Columbia ball, the Authority Solid. It's another one that we will definitely review at some point here. Yeah, my feed is falling behind here, so hopefully it didn't lock up.
My question is, how does it compare to a Redemption Pearl?
All right. How does the Verge Pearl compare to a Redemption Pearl? Definitely a much different piece. Again, symmetrical cord ball versus an asymmetrical. Completely different motion, different motor. Obviously, from a down lane motion perspective, the Verge Pearl is definitely going to corner harder off the friction when it sees the end of the pattern. The Redemption Pearl, even for me, is a little slower of a ball off the spot. I'm really more of a fan of the hybrid in that line, but distinctly different from one another. You got one with a big motor and the other one with a smaller core here in the threshold core, but differential-wise, 049, so plenty of strength to make that ball see it down lane. And I apologize, I got a lot of people in the feed here, but my questions are actually lagging behind here. I'm trying to get them to update.
That was the only question.
And it still didn't come through. So we'll give it a second here and see if this thing catches up. Guess I gotta break down and get the faster internet connection down here, huh?
I have it on my phone.
Is it lagging on your phone?
No,
Okay.
but I mean you can.
Looks like Rick Roll just jumped in and joined here. Yeah, see, they're coming through Carrie's phone, so my apologies. I'm going to look 20. Hard-hitting ball. Chris Accaro is on. What's going on, Chris? Verge Pearl is amazing. I absolutely agree. Sorry, I'm looking two different places because the questions are actually coming through on Carrie's phone faster than they are my iPad here. So, you know, Chris Accaro, through it, you know, if you have anything that you wanted to add based on what we're saying, looks like for me, it's a little earlier, stronger, smoother than an uppercut. Okay, that's, you know, a little bit of a different ball, but love both of the Verges. So again, you know, there is a good example, you know, for Chris, you know, and if you look on paper, a Verge Pearl on paper should be overall stronger than a Brunswick uppercut. However, for him, you know, Chris is a little bit, I don't want to say a little bit of speed dominance, but he's pretty matched when it comes to speed and revs. But he definitely gets after it at the bottom and has a higher ball speed. So, you know, depending on the surface prep of that, you know, if we have closer layouts, it all comes into play when it's coming down. But good one on that, good feedback on that. Chris Wilson, extremely impressed with the Verge Pearl, must have in your arsenal. Definitely says that he wants to get one as well. Colby, what's going on, man? Sorry, I'm looking back and forth here, but again, my Brian Green, track tempo, how strong is it compared to a cutting-edge Pearl? Brian, a pretty good question there. So a track tempo, again, is, when you compare the two, a track tempo is probably going to be, numbers-wise, is a little weaker overall, a little more of a controlled piece. But again, kind of the cover stock differences on those two bowling balls will be distinctly different from one another. We did drill one up for Carrie here. We do have an event coming up this weekend. We have the Cheetah Open coming up here at Pure Bowling. And I will tell you, on 75-year-old wood, it is extremely challenging lane to lane. It's hard. And we did a track tempo for Carrie today. And normally on a lower end ball like that, I would generally go with a stronger layout for her. She's very, very forward, not a lot of tilt. But this one we went pretty strong with for an intention. We want to get the bowling ball to pick up, actually try to, you know, burn up a little bit as much as possible in the front part of the lane. That way it's rolling forward at the end of the pattern. But very good question on that. Brian, if you have the cutting edge Pearl, you're definitely going to have something a little different. Yeah, Matt Bradley, his head exploded during the KOH. We put out that cheetah pattern a few weeks ago for the King of the Hill, and it was an eye-opener for a lot. I am not going to say any names at all, I promise, but we did, with some good bowlers in the building, have one bowler bowl an 82 game, and we had an 87 game that night. They are really hard, and if you're not used to bowling on the wood and combating lane play, lane to lane here, you have an eye opener. Jim Weber, how does it compare to the Redemption Pearl? I answered that a little bit ago, but again, Jim, completely different ball. Compared to Redemption Pearl, this Verge Pearl is going to be cleaner than that Redemption Pearl. And from a motion standpoint, it's going to be a completely different motion. It's going to be sharper off the spot when compared to the Redemption Pearl. The Redemption Pearl with the asymmetry to it is definitely going to try to read the front and the mid lane more before it gets into a roll forward. Okay. Okay. Matt says he's so proud that wasn't you. You didn't have the 82 or the 87 game. That's good, Matt. I'm proud too. You know, it's going to be interesting this weekend. As I said, we have an event here. It's small, but there's actually 2 spots open. So if anybody's interested, it is a high entry event. It's $250 to enter. It is 2 squads, but there's only 12 people in each squad, and it will pay out over $2,000 to win. 1-in-4 ratio, so obviously there's going to be 6 checks out there, with the lowest check being double your entry. Okay, it's a good tune-up. It is being held on Saturday, so if you are interested, reach out to me directly. I will require you to put a deposit down to get a spot into the field. But the players that are coming, it's a pretty good field. We're going to use it as a warm-up for the guys and gals that may be bowling at Woodlawn on Sunday at the PBA Regional in Baltimore. So if interested, reach out, and we'll get you onto the roster. So, all right, let's look at maybe one or two more questions here, and then we'll cut it off for the evening. And again, if you have anything that comes to mind that you didn't ask and you wish you would have, you can always reach out to me at any time, whether it's through my personal Facebook page or you can do it through Pure Bowling Facebook page. That's fine. My number's out there for anybody. If you want to shoot me a message, give me a call or a text. Hit me up, 717-679-8225. I'm available at any time. And that goes for any of the brands of Brunswick balls. If you have questions or you need to get in contact and have more of an understanding, I'm your first point of contact here in the eastern part of Pennsylvania, and I'll be happy to help you. Anyone else out there? All right. Looks like CJ just said, I can't wait to see that new proof going down the lane. The original proof was amazing. CJ couldn't agree anymore. The original proof was one of those balls that was released right before the pandemic hit. Really didn't get all the exposure it deserved. That ball is really, really good. The Pearl, we do have a few of them here. So we will be testing these in the next few days. I did one for Carrie today, and it is virtually the same layout as her solid version, so it'll be a good comparison. We do that a lot. I am a very true believer in once we aesthetically get a player to see a certain type of shape, we don't use a ton of different layouts for them because folks, the manufacturers make arsenals for a reason. They make lines. So we use a lot of numbers that make sense for the player. So maybe favorite pin up, pin down layouts, and then we dictate and let the cover and the core strength of a ball dictate what that's going to do. And you would be amazed at how much better they fit from top to bottom within the lines of a bowling brand. Because the industry leaders, whether it's our brands or it's Storm Roto or anything along those lines, they do a lot of research, and when they release bowling balls, they release it for an intention to fit in between what they have in their line. So if you go changing layouts too much, you kind of get away from what the versatility is when you go from ball to ball to ball. Okay, so somebody like Carrie, who is a low tilt player, doesn't have a very high rev rate. We use a lot of bigger first angles because we don't want the bowling ball to essentially try to fight the fact that her ball doesn't see the front part of the lane that much, and we want to retain as much energy as we can. For living in that realm when we're doing pin to pap distances for her, we're definitely going to make sure that we don't get something that overflares because overflaring for her is jail. Because if the ball flares too much and tries to read the front too much, you can only imagine what that ball looks like when it tries to go through the pins. I don't know about you, but I don't want to be standing in the back when she 8-10s and I told her to ball change. So, not fun to see. So, we kind of live in that realm. Usually for her, somewhere between 4.5 to 4 3/4 inch pins, sometimes all the way out to 5. If we're trying to tighten the flare up a little bit and really get that bowling ball to aesthetically match up to her eye, what she wants to see. Someone like myself, I go even a little further. I'm pretty matched when it comes to speed and rev rate. And, I'm a big fan of the 5 to 5 1/4 inch pins, especially a little longer when I get into the asymmetrics because, if I try to go below 4.5, those things are flaring the whole way around the ball. And for me, that's not usable. I mean, there's very few places that I'm going to be able to actually utilize that ball and see something that matches up for what I'm looking for. So again, if you have further questions on that, I would love to help you. Come in, we'll talk about your arsenal, we'll talk about your release. I'll get you on the lanes. We'll get some true measurements off you to understand your axis point, what your tilt is, what's your axis rotation, and what's going to match up the best for you. Okay, it's one thing when new bowling balls come out, we want to see them, they're great, oh, I want that, look good for Johnny over here, but guess what, it might not be the right piece for you, and we want to make sure that we talk through it, we educate, and we make sure that we get the correct bowling ball in your hands. So again, looks like that was pretty much the last question, but also remember through all this and this Talk About It Tuesdays and Throw It Thursdays, here at Pure Bowling, we do have demos. Okay, we have demos of these balls. We build our own sets here, so it's not like they're only here for a couple days and then they got to go off to another shop. So I bring in balls specifically. We drill them up here. We leave them here so you can throw them. We tried to go with a span that makes the most sense. Obviously I'm not going to buy 4 or 5 of each one, like a regular demo set. But we definitely have one here. You can get a close enough look of the bowling ball going down your hand or going down the lane and making sure that it's something that you like. Okay, so if that interests you, all we do is take it on the lanes, throw whatever you want for an hour. It's $10. If you end up buying one that day, or you decide to buy one, a couple weeks later, I'm going to knock $10 off of your drilling fee, and just to support how much we really feel these balls are the best in the market, and we're going to match you up to what makes the most sense for you. So again, hopefully everybody enjoys it. I really do enjoy talking and trying to really get across to everybody what we can do together within this industry. So if you have further questions, please reach out to me. And stay tuned to Thursday. Throw It Thursday will probably be around 6:30 this week, so a little earlier than last week, but we'll have 4 players on the lanes again. Stay tuned. I will post who that will be once we finalize everything, and we'll get this Verge Pearl going down the lane. And if you have any other ones you are desperately waiting to see that day, just ask ahead of time. We'll make sure we bring those bowling balls down in the building, and we'll throw them for you. All right. Thanks for your time. Enjoyed talking to everybody, and we'll see you soon.